So how did Arne Slot do that, and why is it different in some ways to what Klopp does, but also different to what other Premier League managers do, whilst also just being something that feels so simple, feels so attainable for this Liverpool team? Welcome back to the Laurence McKenna channel. Leicester City got quite a nasty tail in the game, a sting. There was a little something there which kind of took it away from them, and you could always see that they were fighting an uphill battle, right? Like Liverpool were always going to be the superior side. Leicester are a side who are battling against battling in a relegation battle. But the way that Liverpool did it, the way that they have kept doing it throughout the season at almost the halfway mark, and the way that final fans are telling Liverpool fans, oh, the first half of the season is just Slot getting started. The second half of the season is him actually getting things in place, seems to be, at least to me, becoming more and more evident as we go through the season. And this game against Leicester felt like one of those times where that was truly evidence. Liverpool came out the blocks, as Arne Slot said himself in the post-match interview, very quick. In the first 6 minutes, Liverpool were a very high-quality football team. They were cutting through Leicester seemingly at will, and then weirdly just took their foot off the gas. The press wasn't actually really working, and actually, in our enthusiasm to get down the field, we left a lot of players up the pitch and very few players back to counter their pace. Patson Daka, of course, is a very quick player. You also find that Ayew is a very ghosting type, and they completely hit us with a counterpunch. It worked well, but at the same time, it was very much, again, down to individual errors. And we can identify these individual errors and say, therefore, those individual players are responsible for whatever. I'm not really sure that that is a great way to go about it, especially in an Arne Slot system. But if you want to really pick holes, then there is still an Andy Robertson mistake, which again came out of something which seems seemingly very comfortable for Liverpool and something normally we should deal with. He, as Andrew Robertson has been in the past, got a little bit too obsessed with winning the ball back and wasn't quite obsessed enough with actually keeping the opposition at bay. It seems like Liverpool are much better at keeping the opposition at bay and then just scooping in and getting the ball. The frustrating thing, I think, for us was that we conceded something which we didn't need to concede. And actually, it changed the narrative of the game somewhat. It meant that we were looking for a comeback rather than what felt like a very comfortable victory in the end. And the supremacy that we had been ceded almost too easily. Liverpool have conceded too many of those kind of goals with players getting sucked over to the right-hand side of the defence a little too easily since Konate has not been in the team. Konate's aggression, Konate's space covering, Konate's just pure habitation of the space gives the opposition reason not to go into those zones, or at least to try to go around him. Joe Gomez, Virgil van Dijk, still very competent centre-backs, but not... Well, Virgil van Dijk's more than competent, but still a competent centre-back pairing, but not the same front-footed team that we like to be with Konate there. And it's a real shame that Konate is this injury-prone, riddled, whatever you want to call it. It's frustrating to watch a Liverpool fan. But Slot continued, and patience has been a big theme for this Liverpool team. I think Anfield has learned to support patiently. We understand that actually half of the game is the battle of attrition with the opposition. You're not tired now, but in 60 minutes, when you've been doing this for the 60 minutes, then you will end up in a position where you're tired. You'll end up in a position where you are doing the same thing over and over and over again. And when we switch things up, when we switch the tempo, you're not in such a good position anymore, and we go and score a goal. Of course, that doesn't then give credit to the individuals, such as Cody Gakpo, who went out there and scored an incredible strike. Again, it's kind of a signature of his. And in the Athletic article that I was reading, I loved it. 14 of his 29 goals that he scored in the 18 months that he's been at Anfield have been game state-changing goals. Great stat, not mine. But in the article, they spoke about how he's very often helped Liverpool pull ahead, pull even, and just stepped up when Liverpool actually needed him. And when I actually thought about that, I thought, right, that's a really good indication of the kind of player that we got and the profiling that we do of players. And why Liverpool, when they have needed to spend money, when they have needed to get into the market and get a guy who statistically is fantastic, but also personality-wise and, to fit culture-wise is good, they have done so. The frustration, I guess, is the opposite side of that coin. Someone like Darwin Nunez, who seems almost permanently dependent on us slightly patronising him and sort of going, oh, a goal will come, your energy is good, you could be a defensive midfielder. A lot of the comments last night were kind of in that ilk of, what could you be? What is it that we want Darwin Nunez to be? Like, we know what we want him to be. We're playing him in the 9 position. We're playing him in a position where he needs to score goals. We're playing him in a position where he needs to be a hookup player, where he needs to be bringing other people into play. We've seen other people play that profile really well. And frankly, with people speaking about Darwin Nunez playing in central midfield, if you're talking about Trent not being able to play in central midfield, then saying that Darwin Nunez can play in central midfield is even more bizarre to me. Like, Trent is a 360 footballer. Sure, he's someone who's grown up with a line next to him, the opposite side. But, Darwin Nunez is the kind of player who I actually think suits better as a left winger than he does a central striker. And, I know he'll go somewhere else to do fantastically as part of a front 3 or front 2 in Europe, but I just don't get that feeling with him at Liverpool anymore. And I think broadly, a lot of people are now acknowledging when we want to change things, a huge issue with us changing things is his lack of adaptation. Yes, I get that there are some very crude things that he can do, and I'm not patronizing him when I say this. Yes, I think there are some very visible changes that he makes when we do change our tactics. It's nice to see him make some passes, but my minimum that I expect people to make is make the passes the manager wants you to make. Making the minimum is no longer the requirement for this Liverpool team. This is not a team in transition. This is a team going for a title. This is a team needing a push, needing someone who they can rely on up front and consistently rely on for goals. And last night, as much as he brought other people into play and was part of moves, Cody Gakpo created that out of his own movement, his own steam. And I get it, the team moved the opposition into that. Mo Salah equally created that of his own positioning, his own steam. And I get it again, like if you've got someone like Nunez on the field at the time, not that I think we did at that point, but if you do, then he creates space for those kind of people. And the same for Curtis Jones. He's locking people up. His gravity is bringing people in. It is a big part of why, when we're pushing, there is so much pressure on the opposition. What his enthusiasm, those kind of things is really important. But I think enthusiasm and pressing are two things which we would have profiled in any Liverpool striker. Jota's a very good presser. We've seen him a number of times retrieve the ball back against the Arsenals, the Villas, those kind of teams, and he does it very well. There are other players, Bobby Firmino, who was very tricky, very good at reading passes, very good at closing people down from behind, very good at hooking a leg around. These are players who, I'm not saying they're 10 a penny. I'm not saying if we went out and just got any striker, then we would be able to get that profile. But there are other players out there who surely would be able to offer similar, if not variations, on the theme that we're asking Darwin Nunez to sing. That doesn't mean I don't like him as a player. That doesn't mean I don't appreciate the effort that he puts into the side. But very often when I see these changes and I see the defence that Slot puts in of him, it's not a glowing recommendation that he puts in. It's, like he fulfills these roles and he does these things well. That, again, is not a glowing Ballon d'Or ridden CV that I'm looking at here. Not that anyone in this team has a Ballon d'Or at this point, but there is one man who is very much meant to be on for one right now. Mo Salah is it's not the form of his life, but it's potentially the form of his life. He's playing fantastic football. He is clearly the vice captain, another captain out on the field, and he's someone who people love to watch right now. He hit the bar last night, probably in a goal that he should have scored, and would have probably been more likely to score from that position than one that he threaded for his actual goal. His gravity is equally as important, and he has a good relationship with Darwin Nunez, but I think he'll have a good relationship with any striker. Especially if it's Omar Marmoush who comes in, he's someone who probably would have a good relationship with him. But that's beyond the point, right? Like, Salah is exhibiting some of the premier skills in Europe right now, and we're lucky to see those things. This landmark that he reached, the 100 home goals, I know there are other people who have done it quicker. There are other people who have done it quicker who aren't wingers, but there are other people who have done it slightly quicker. He's joined a very elite club of like the Shearers, the Henry types again. And we're witnessing something that I think very often can be overlooked because of the functionality of Mo Salah, because of the function of the team. There'll be a video out later today about Mo Salah's run for the Ballon d'Or and why he should be very much in that conversation, but a couple of reasons why he very often is overlooked or pushed to one side or marginalised in some way by people that aren't Liverpool. But he's fantastic for us and we appreciate him. We love him. We love what he does. I know there are a lot of people, and here's the thing, right? There are a lot of people, especially people who want to push this Liverpool is a racist city, or Liverpool is an ostracising city, or Liverpool is Islamophobic, or whatever you want to say it, who spoke about the same themes when we saw Mane leave the club. Mane left and very quickly found that pastures aren't always new in the way that you would like them already. that grass isn't always greener, that, you know, there are people who will give you overtures of, oh, you would love this, you would love that, and actually they just end up kind of giving you the same as you got before, if not worse, if not, you know, less understanding. Bayern Munich was hardly a perfect fit for him, and, you know, again, the same goes for Liverpool. I think this unique cocktail and relationship that we have with Mo is very important. And a lot of people in the outside world don't understand Liverpool. They don't understand the culture, they don't understand the people, in the same way as a lot of people from our country wouldn't understand the culture or the people from wherever that person who's choosing to critique is from. They've heard things, they've probably seen things on TV, they've probably heard things about English people, and then they say, well, Mo Salah's not as appreciated as he should be. They constantly sing Mo Salah's name around Anfield. He presents himself to the Kop almost serially at this point. And it's kind of frustrating to watch people just have these lazy ideas that Salah is somehow not appreciated by Liverpool, need to be appreciated more somewhere else. At Madrid, this, blah, blah, blah. The reason he would be appreciated differently at Madrid is not really down to the fans, is not really down to the fundamental game that he's playing, is not really down to any of these things. It's down to the fact that Madrid have a PR machine. PR machines do not make love. PR machines make PR. There is no L in PR. There is not PRL. It is not public relations love. It is not PL. That is why people end up appreciating these Real Madrid players, but ultimately people in the outside world see the PR, not the love. I don't see the love for Ronaldo. I don't see the love for Bale. I don't see the love for any of these people. I see adoration. I see heroing. I see love for Mo Salah and a different relationship to one that he would have with any other club. He speaks about this very often, and the same for Virgil van Dijk, his prime interview just the other day that they got with the rights. He spoke about I love Liverpool and the Liverpool fans love me. These kind of things are really important. They create unique circumstances within which players can thrive, and they give players time to thrive. They give players time to develop. They give players time to grow. Darwin Nunez at any other club doesn't get this kind of time. Andy Robertson doesn't get this kind of appreciation online. Trent Alexander-Arnold wouldn't get this kind of love online. Rashford is being treated very differently. Trent will be treated differently if he ends up leaving the club, but that's kind of beyond the point. You get time at this club. You get love. There is an impatience with a lack of, should we say, application. There is an impatience with lack of certain things, say effort, those kind of things, but that's not the same. It's not what we experience. Salah is truly unique. But what really changed things, and I want to get onto this, is Arne Slot. Slot and the trust that the players have in him is very important to the way this game is played and the way that the patience around Anfield not only emanates from him into the team, into the crowd, but is now a shared symbiotic relationship going both ways between the stands and the players. When Liverpool went 1-0 down, I turned to my dad straight away and I said, they scored too early. We knew it. Like, we just knew watching that this Liverpool team, after that first 6 minutes, had a goal in them, more than a goal. My dad at that point was like, I think it's 4-1 by the time we finish. And frankly, if it wasn't for, say, an inch of a line, which was drawn through fog, I think we probably would have won 4 or 5-1 in this game. Salah hit the bar, all these kind of things. And you can talk about goalkeeper saves. You can talk about how much we challenged him in the first half. We hit the post, we hit the bar. There were multiple times where we put him into action, or multiple times when Liverpool ghosted just across goal. Making saves isn't the only indication of where your team is at. But I also think that Slot is making and is affording himself the time to make these very small changes, which I really appreciate. During the game, players are now asking for these kind of things. Robertson, post-game, of course, said he's always giving us instructions. He's always giving us tweaks. You can see him talking about the areas that players need to be. He's very good with his hands. He's very good at expressing himself as a coach. I wouldn't call him an actor, but I would say him a great coach. He also seems like a great guy. There was a young lad coming off the field. I saw it on social media. Forgive me, I can't remember his name, but he's he was the mascot for the day, and Slot really enjoyed seeing this little kid come off, right? He gave him a little high five, is pointing out to everyone else this kid was coming, pay him some attention. Slot understands what this role is, as well as Klopp understood what this role was. And he understands his new role is not Jurgen Klopp's role. It is manager of Liverpool in his own capacity. But he still had a very good foundation laid from the previous generation. All the pressing, all of the intensity, all the attitude were things that have already been instilled and can be tweaked and can be manipulated and can be harnessed by any new coach. Speaking of coaches, there is now a lot of tumult, should we say, in Ajax, in the Netherlands in general, speaking about how Johnny Heitinga got to be a Liverpool coach. First of all, he's an ex-Everton player, so it's unusual. But secondly, a lot of people were saying that he was a good coach in the first place, possibly even one that could go on to be a first-team manager. And how have Liverpool ended up with him? Well, first of all, he's been a star for us. Not only is it Slot's ideas that need to come out and through and, kind of slot in with the team, it's Johnny Heitinga and everyone else on the day-to-day basis. And you'll remember this from the Benitez era. You'll remember this from the Klopp era. When they changed their number twos, when they changed the people who are around them, things change within the club fundamentally. You can see the play changing, the relationship between the players and the manager. These are the people who are out there on a day-to-day basis, giving the players minor instructions, giving the players the understanding of the game that they need to then be able to interpret Slot's overall system and tactics, to be able to stay calm, to be able to do all these kind of things. So when Slot does change the pressing scheme, when Slot does go higher up the field or more intense or put players in certain positions which maybe would have been more uncomfortable in a previous era, they can interpret them. They can be smart about it. They are smart guys. And they trust those players. Heitinga is a huge part of that. And it's very impressive, very reassuring to know you've got someone on the bench like that. We did change things. In the second half, we shifted where Gakpo played. He played a little bit more on the inside. You saw Alexis McAllister's role change ever so slightly and just offer a little bit more support over on that side. You saw that Curtis was also skewed a little bit more over to that side. It brought Salah in a little bit, and the overall emphasis of the team shifted one way, then it shifted back. And you could see that Slot is almost conducting this from the sides. He's not that active manager, which is kind of like, agitating and wanting that allegro. There is, though, a man in there who's basically saying like, oh, right, okay, maybe just try this adjustment, push over that way a little bit. There's a channel there for you to get into. We saw it in pre-season. Of course, the frustration in the next game is the rotation, all these kind of things. Szoboszlai's got that 5th yellow. He won't be able to play against West Ham. Maybe it's good because we probably want Szoboszlai against Manchester United. But ultimately, I think rotation is key to this Slot team, and picking up yellows is kind of a silly thing to do, especially when you're not one of those starting players, and especially when you're in such a comfortable or more comfortable position when you do come on. How we won it, of course, is the change, is the shift, is the tempo that Slot decides to play at, and it is constantly shifting back and forth. You can see Liverpool going from, we need to manage the ball, let's pass it around the back line, to, we need to get the ball forward now, we need to go out wide very, very quick. The players' heads come up, the way they rotate the ball around that back three makes a big difference. And you can see Virgil van Dijk and Gomez shifting as to where they need to be to get the opposition into the shape. It's almost like a herding of sheep at that point. Do foxes get herded? I suppose not. Anyway, they get herded around and Liverpool find themselves in an advantageous position. It's good to watch. It's satisfying. It's also one thing you can identify very consistently as a fan when you're watching is, they've shifted into this phase of play now. They've shifted into this. The weird thing is, if we can see that, opposition managers can see that too. It doesn't matter if you can see it at pitch level or not. Like, you can see that as an opposition manager, you'll know that's coming. It's how to manage it that I think is the big issue, and the inevitability of how it feels that Liverpool are going to play at the moment, the control it affords and those kind of things. We had constant control over Leicester in this game. There were very few times where they did anything which was outside of Liverpool's control, apart from that Ayew chance and maybe the Daka chance. But that felt like a very low opportunity. Really, Liverpool controlled all of these 90 minutes. We allowed them into the game, sure, but even outside of the goal, when we were 1-0 down, I think a lot of people think, you're trailing, so you're not winning, so you're not playing well. No, that moment was the moment that Leicester capitalised. Our long balls and the crosses and those kind of things, we took the crosses out of the game in the second half. We played directly into them, and that shift, when they were camped deep, was part of it. We shift them around by doing different things. When you spam the crosses, you're telling them, we know you're weak on these kind of things. We know you know what is coming after we spam these crosses. In fact, we spammed so many crosses in the first half that I think in the first half we have made more crosses than we've made in the entirety of the other 17 games that we played at the start of this season. The other 16 games to get to the 17th game at the start of this season. That's pretty incredible that we did that. That's a real warning to the opposition. We know what your game is. We know what you're doing. It's a mind F. It messes with the opposition's heads. They go, these guys are really getting a lot of crosses in. When are they going to shift it up? And then, bam, we shift it up. And the game has moved on already. Before you know, the ball is in the back of the net. And here we are. The frustration, of course, for Ruud van Nistelrooy is he didn't have very much to change it, and Arne Slot did. The 5 subs that we brought on not only allowed Slot to continue some of his tactics, but to shift things energetically. We saw why Szoboszlai got the yellow card. We see that when Harvey Elliott comes on, he seamlessly shifts into that like comfortable inside winger/10 role, which I think he's really making his own and has an opportunity to make his own. And then, you know, obviously we couldn't bring Luis Diaz on in this game, sadly, because of his father being taken ill. And again, we hope all of that is already improving and that things conclude positively there for them. But, you know, it's a mess up for a rotation, put it that way. That's maybe it's a selfish way to look at it, but it's a tactical way to look at it. We're not saying he needs to come back sooner than he needed to before. It does offer a bit of a challenge though, and it gives someone like Gakpo a couple of games where he probably will know that he's starting. It gives Nunez a couple of games probably where he knows that he's going to be starting while Jota's still getting his fitness back, etc., etc. But we won it by shifting things. We won it by going from those crosses to playing through the middle to playing out wide. There were lots of different approaches, and the spamming early on, the danger of those crosses pulls the opposition out and gives us the opportunity of that second ball, but also gives us the opportunity to then go, okay, I don't want to do a cross here, I actually want to get a player in behind. You see Salah taking up those positions when Trent is about to whip a ball in, and boy, can he whip those balls in. If you're going to pay 350 grand a week, it's for that kind of ball. But when Trent is in that position, Salah is looking over his shoulder almost for like a starter's gun to go, for him to go, right, I'm in that position, I'm looking back and this player's there. It pulls the opposition out. It makes an opposition in a deep team really think twice or even thrice about where the ball's going to end up. And it's a great way for Liverpool to pull people out of position. You can obviously shift it around the back line, but you're really just shifting the top of their press, or what little press Leicester had last night. And with a low block, you really need to shift them a little bit further down the field and move the whole entity around. Liverpool did that very well. And yeah, more impressed, like I said in my review last night, I was very impressed with Lexham, McAllister and Gravenberch. I thought they were both fantastic. But I'm even more impressed with the fact that we can bring on now 3 10s in Harvey Elliott, Szoboszlai, and of course, Curtis Jones as well. Curtis scoring in his 100th game. Jurgen told him that's lovely. It was nice just to see him sort of happy and doing what he's doing. I want him more in the team. I really appreciate his play. His hold is fantastic. I'd love to see him against United. But I've got a doubt we're going to see him. Will we see Harvey Elliott start a game yet? I'm still waiting for Chiesa to get like Premier League minutes, which feel meaningful, which feel like we can actually do something with them. Oof. There's still so much to see in this season, and we aren't even halfway. Halfway is the West Ham game. Halfway is post Upton Park, I was going to call it, but it's actually the Olympic Stadium. Yeah, I'm looking forward to chatting to you guys. Let me know in the comments below what your observations were of the game, what you think we're going to do against West Ham, the starting 11. The preview for that game will be out... Ooh, is it tomorrow? Yeah, it's tomorrow. So I hope you enjoy this video, and I hope you've already hit subscribe, hit the Patreon, hit the Discord, and I'll see you guys later. Much love.